Hey everybody, it's Kirstin here, and I wanted to come on today and talk to you about self-inquiry and why I think self-inquiry is the greatest act of love we can make. And the reason I'm motivated to make this video today is because I've been talking to women recently in breakthrough sessions and new clients and people who are interested in coming to my upcoming retreat about their fears of this work. And there are three general fears that I want to address here. One is the fear that really committing on purpose to following that, what I've called in previous videos, that voice of more, or that longing for something else, or following up on that sensation that maybe something's missing, even though from the outside our lives might look pretty darn good. And there's the fear that attends that wish that maybe this longing is just some sort of dysfunctional restlessness, right? Maybe I really don't know how to be present. Maybe I don't know how to just enjoy the simple pleasures of life. What's wrong with my life, really? It's okay. I mean, maybe what I think of as settling is just an inability to be in the here and now, right? Big fear. Next fear, that somehow personal inquiry, living on purpose through this work is selfish. Self-indulgent in the worst sense of the word, that by committing our energy, our time, our money, our resources to this kind of structured work, whether it's coaching or mentoring in a different kind of program, but really carving out the time and space and energy for deliberate self-work, that this is just really self-indulgent and selfish. That is to say, work that's done on behalf of ourselves at the expense of others, right? If I'm spending all this money and all this time and all this effort on my life, I must be ignoring those I care about, those that are dependent on me, our kids, our spouses, our partners, our friends, right? There's only a limited amount to go around, and if I spend it on me, I'm not spending it somewhere else. Okay, fear number two. Fear number three, and this is an interesting one, this is a big one that I've been hearing lately, that pursuing this kind of work is somehow indicative of an attachment to problems, that we really just like to suffer. That, you know, why else would I want to kind of unearth my shit and deal with the hard stuff and contend with my fears and tackle my problems if at base I'm just, like, maybe I just have an addiction to suffering. And in fact, the Buddha once said, you know, the greatest of life's addictions is the addiction, this is a paraphrase, but the addiction to the belief that life is hard. Right? And so maybe that's what's really going on. So what I'd like to say is that all of these fears are understandable, they're conditioned by the culture we live in, and they're not true. Let me tell you why. When we practice deliberate, guided, structured, caring self-inquiry, we foster understanding. And I love how Thich Nhat Hanh talks about understanding as the condition for compassion. Right? When we start to understand why we react the way we do, or why we feel the way we do, or why we avoid the way we do, or why we partake of patterns and habits, addictions that don't serve us, we can stop criticizing ourselves, beating ourselves up, which just perpetuates the problem, and practicing compassion for ourselves instead. Real compassion, which is to say, presence without judgment. Presence without judgment. Presence without interpretation, analysis, pathologizing. Presence without judgment. That's compassion. That's the gateway to compassion, to caring. When we practice understanding, we foster compassion for ourselves. When we foster compassion for ourselves, we cultivate the ability to stay present to uncomfortable emotions, which as human beings are going to happen about 50% of the time. In the absence of that capacity, we buffer, we avoid, we deny, we run, we react, we push away, we get angry. None of which foster genuine connection with others, with ourselves. None of which foster love. Understanding begets compassion. Compassion begets presence, right? So when we can stay present, because instead of feeling like our negative feelings are an indication of our own insufficiency, but rather a portal into richer self-awareness, attunement, compassion, our negative emotions become much more comfortable, actually. And when we can stay present to our own discomfort, two things happen. Lots of things happen, but two really important things happen. One, we become less fearful. The only thing we fear when we're really afraid of doing something is how we're going to feel. Rejection, humiliation, failure, embarrassment, success. Right? We fear these feelings because they're out of our comfort zone. They really stretch us. They feel really uncomfortable. But if we can stay present to discomforting emotion, even radically discomforting emotion, without buffering or running away, we learn how to walk right through our fears into the life we really want. Everything we want is on the other side of fear. The other thing, equally important and related, that happens when we can stay present to our own uncomfortable emotions is that we learn to stay present to others' discomfort. This means, for instance, that when we're in an argument or a difficult or challenging conversation or situation with our partner or our spouse, and he or she is upset, we're able to stay with that upset without identifying with it, without taking responsibility for it, without trying to fix it, without shoving tissues in the face, without arguing back. We get to stay present because compassion for ourselves, understanding for ourselves, opens our hearts and allows us to be far more compassionate, far more present to other people when they are uncomfortable. When we can remain present in the face of other people's discomfort, our kids, our partners, our friends, our colleagues, we create a container in which vulnerability is allowed. And that's kind of everything. That's sort of the bottom line. When we create a container where vulnerability is possible, where it's safe to be a mess, where it's safe to feel untidy and raw and exposed and, I don't know, just like not the self we like to imagine ourselves in the outside world, but something raw and a little bit more messy. When we can provide that space for ourselves and for others, we create a container where vulnerability is allowed. And when vulnerability is allowed, we foster connection, right? We also foster courage. Vulnerability is the bedrock of courage, of bravery, of strength. Love is an act of courage, genuine intimacy, because love is an act of vulnerability. When we practice understanding, we beget compassion. Compassion begets presence. Presence begets vulnerability. Vulnerability begets connection. Connection fosters love. Love builds our relationships, enriches our families, strengthens our communities, makes more supple communication across numerous networks. Self-inquiry is hardly self-indulgent. Self-inquiry is exactly the portal to presence. Self-inquiry is what leads us farthest into ourselves so that we can genuinely move farthest beyond ourselves into genuine intimacy, real connection, sustainable relationships, which is my mission. It's my passion. It's what I am most interested in as a teacher, as a coach, as a change maker, as a mom, as an individual, as a partner. So for those of you who are interested in personal evolution, self-development, whatever you want to call it, I hope this has helped you allay some of your fears that to really embark on a dedicated journey in this way is somehow to ignore those you love, or be selfish, or be self-important. Yeah, you are important. You're really important. And if you don't prioritize yourself, there's no way you can show up fully and without reactivity to those you love and care for. If you'd like to learn more about this work with me, I have a Your Path to Full Potential Women's Retreat. It's my signature retreat. I have my next retreat coming up on October 8th here in Bloomington Normal at the Ewing Cultural Center. It's a beautiful, beautiful venue. We have the whole space for the day. I serve a gorgeous, vegan, delicious, really yummy lunch, and it's limited to 12 women. The retreat is half full. If you're interested, you can go to KirstinHotelingZona.com, where you can register right now and also learn more information. If you just want to shoot me an email at KirstinHotelingZona@gmail.com, you can. I'm happy to correspond with you and answer any questions you might have. And I also want to tell you about another offering that I have in the works that I'm going to launch pretty soon. And this is a class, an online class. It's free. It's called Your Path. Oh no. That's the retreat. It's called Narratives of Human Potential, and it's going to be a class where we read a lot of really cool books ranging from nonfiction history to memoir to short story to philosophy. And I will facilitate discussions. I will bring my expertise in literature and poetry to bear upon our discussions. I will guide us, but together we'll really explore these texts and explore big questions around full potential, human potential. So that's a really exciting offering that I have in the works that I'm going to be launching soon. And I'll come on and do another video soon. But just keep your eye out for that and stay tuned. So I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please feel free to share with others whom you think would enjoy it. Much love to you all, and have a wonderful night.